This is one of those stories that stops you in your tracks. You read the headline. You shake your head. You think, no, not her. That can't be right, but yes, it is. And Burrell, the loud, joyful, fiery redhead who ruled the Food Network with her sharp knives and even sharper personality, is gone. Just like that, and now details are leaking out. The kind of details that no one saw coming. The kind that raise more questions than answers. What really happened to Anne Burrell? Why was she smiling in that final photo just hours before everything changed? And how did this all unravel so fast? What we've uncovered in the past 24 hours has completely turned this story upside down. Some of it will make you angry. Some of it will chill you to your core. And some of it will break your heart. Let's discuss. Because this is not just a celebrity story. It's a real-life mystery unfolding in real time. Let's rewind just a little, back to June 17th, and Burrell posted a photo. She was smiling, bright as ever. Hair up in her signature style. Eyes full of life. The caption. It was simple. Playful. Just Anne being Anne, but just hours later, that photo would become something entirely different. It would become her final post. Now think about that. How many times have we seen it? Celebrities sharing a happy moment right before tragedy hits. Was it a coincidence? Or was something being hidden behind that smile? This is where it starts to get unsettling, because what fans didn't know was that behind that photo was a situation spiraling out of control. Before we go further, let's remember who Anne Burrell really was. Not just a TV chef. Not just a funny Food Network face. She was a culinary powerhouse. She trained in Italy. She worked at some of the finest restaurants in New York. And when she hit TV, she didn't just cook, she entertained. She made food feel alive. You didn't watch Anne Burrell for calm, quiet instructions. You watched her for the fire, the sass, the passion. But off camera, those close to her say she was much more reserved. In interviews, she often talked about struggling with anxiety, with the pressure of being on all the time. And lately, some say she wasn't quite herself. So, what changed, and more importantly, why didn't anyone speak up until it was too late? The first shocking detail came from someone on the inside. A close contact, whose name we're protecting, reached out with a message and had been dealing with something very serious in private. It wasn't just physical. It was emotional. And she didn't want the world to know. They didn't say what it was. But that one message triggered an avalanche. Suddenly, more voices came forward. Quiet whispers from friends, old co-workers, even former producers. Each one with a piece of a much darker puzzle. One of them said she was tired. Really tired. Not in the I need a nap way, but like she was carrying something. This is where the story shifts, because as these leaks started coming out, we realized this wasn't a random tragedy. There were signs. There were warnings. And worst of all, there were people who saw it coming. What most fans never saw was the pressure Anne was under. According to industry insiders, she had quietly pulled out of 2 major projects earlier this year. One of them was a cookbook deal. The other, a comeback show for streaming. The reason? Burnout, but not just the kind of burnout we talk about casually. We are talking deep, chronic exhaustion. Emotional fatigue, the kind that builds up over years. One source told us, and was always the one people leaned on. She was the tough one. The funny one. But lately, she didn't want to perform anymore. She just wanted to rest. Now here's what makes that detail even more painful, that smiling photo from June 17th. It was part of a sponsored post. Yes, Anne's final public moment may have been part of a paid promotion. Does that mean she was forced to smile through the pain? Was she hiding how bad things really were, for the sake of a brand deal? We may never know for sure, but it adds a new layer of sadness and suspicion once the news broke. The reactions were swift. Chefs, celebrities, fans. Tributes poured in, but what really stood out were the comments from those closest to her. Her brother posted, "She gave the world her energy, her laugh, her heart. But we didn't see how much it was costing her." A childhood friend wrote, "She'd light up every room, but leave with nothing left inside." It's heartbreaking. Because when you look back, the signs were there. In a podcast interview just 6 months ago, and said something that now feels chilling. "Sometimes I think people expect me to be on all the time. But I have my quiet days too. Some days I just want to disappear." At the time, it sounded like a joke. Now, it sounds like a warning we all missed. Let's talk about the night before everything changed, June 16th, and was last seen by a small circle of friends. They had dinner, nothing fancy. Just a cozy get-together at her home. From the outside, it seemed like a normal evening. Laughter, wine, music, and had even posted a story with a glass raised in cheers. But what happened after everyone left is where things get strange. A neighbor, who wished to stay anonymous, told us, "We usually hear her cleaning up or playing music late." That night, silence. Total silence. And that silence continued until the next morning, when Anne missed a scheduled call with her publicist. Alarm bells rang. She never missed calls. She was always punctual, always responsible. A close friend tried to reach her. No answer. Then another. Still nothing. Finally, someone called 911. The 911 call was made around 11:45 a.m. on June 17th. We've reviewed parts of the emergency transcript, and what we found is chilling. The caller, believed to be Anne's assistant, sounded panicked. "I've been knocking for 10 minutes. Her car is here. The lights are off. Something's not right." When authorities entered the home, what they found confirmed the worst. Anne was in her bedroom. No signs of forced entry. No signs of violence. Just a stillness. According to first responders, there were unopened prescriptions nearby. No note. No explanation. Just a quiet room that didn't match the personality of the woman who once lit up TV screens. Now, here's where things take another twist. Sources close to the investigation confirmed Anne had been prescribed medication for anxiety and sleep issues. But what raised eyebrows was this: some of those pills were new, recently filled. Others, untouched. This opened up a wave of speculation. Had Anne stopped taking her medication? Was she afraid of side effects? Was she self-medicating in some other way? One expert we spoke to said, people often avoid medication when they feel shame about needing help. In high-pressure careers, it's sadly common. And here's a detail that truly stings: a handwritten note was found near her nightstand. But it wasn't a goodbye letter. It wasn't even personal. It was a list: groceries, to-do items, a reminder to call her mother, a reminder to schedule her hair appointment. In other words, she was planning for tomorrow. That fact alone leaves a question no one can answer. What really happened? There's one name that keeps coming up behind the scenes. Someone who was reportedly close to Anne in her final weeks, not a family member, not a celebrity. A quiet friend. A man she'd known for years. Let's call him Ben. Sources say Ben had been staying with Anne on and off. They shared dinners, took walks. She even referred to him as my piece. But here's the twist: since the news broke, Ben has disappeared. He hasn't spoken to press. He hasn't attended any memorial events. And friends say he stopped answering calls altogether. Now, let's be clear, there's no evidence of wrongdoing, but his absence is strange, especially when you consider that he was reportedly the last person to see her alive. Why go silent? What does he know? And could he be the key to understanding what really happened that night? In the days following her death, family members began going through Anne's belongings. That's when they found it, tucked away in the back of a kitchen drawer. A small, leather-bound notebook. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't locked away, just a quiet journal, filled with Anne's handwriting. What was inside? Was it a confession? A cry for help? Not quite. It was a mix of thoughts, quotes, personal reflections. But one entry stood out. Dated just 2 weeks before her death: I feel like I'm floating above my own life. Everyone sees me, but no one really sees me. I don't want to disappear, but I don't know how to stay. Reading that, you feel it. This wasn't just burnout. It wasn't just exhaustion. It was isolation, and the worst part, she was surrounded by fans, applauded by millions, but still felt completely alone. When news of Anne's death hit social media, the internet exploded. Tributes, yes, but also wild theories. Some said it was foul play. Others claimed she'd hinted at a secret diagnosis. A few even accused the Food Network of covering up details, and while most of these are just noise, one thing is clear, fans felt blindsided, because when someone so full of life disappears so suddenly, it doesn't sit right. One tweet that went viral said, "She made us laugh. She fed our families. And now she's just gone. Something doesn't add up." And maybe that's what hurts most. It's not just the loss. It's the mystery. It's the idea that someone could be in so much pain, and we never saw it coming. Here's what's still unclear: what exactly was the cause of death? Authorities haven't confirmed yet. Why didn't pull out of her last few projects? Was anyone truly aware of her mental state? And who, if anyone, is holding back critical information? This story is still unfolding, and the truth may take weeks, or even months, to fully surface, but one thing's for sure, the version of Burrell we all thought we knew might have been just a fraction of the woman behind the scenes now. This part, honestly, it caught everyone off guard, because while fans, friends, and fellow chefs were pouring their hearts out, the Food Network almost nothing. A short post. A generic tribute. Then, silence. No video montage. No special programming to honor her. No interviews or heartfelt goodbye from her Food Network family, and this is the same network where Anne worked for nearly 2 decades. The same network she helped build with her loud voice, wild energy, and iconic hair. So naturally, fans are asking, what gives? One former producer finally spoke up anonymously: "There's something very corporate about how this is being handled." And was emotional, real, loud. Not everyone loved that behind the scenes. That's the side of showbiz no one talks about. Once the camera's off, everything gets political. Who's replaceable? Who's profitable? Who fits the brand image? And in the case of Anne Burrell, maybe she was too real for the brand's comfort. Here's where things take an eerie turn. After Anne's death, a 3-month-old podcast episode suddenly started getting thousands of views. It was an interview she did with a smaller outlet, nothing flashy, but in the middle of the conversation, she said something that sent chills down fans' spines. "Sometimes I think we give people too much of ourselves. You know, when you work in TV, they want your personality, your energy, your soul. And when you've got nothing left, they'll just move on to the next smiling face." The host had laughed and chuckled too, but hearing that now, it doesn't sound like a joke anymore. It sounds like a warning. A message to anyone in the spotlight. A message to anyone burning out behind the scenes. There's one moment that had everyone in tears. It happened during a live cooking demo, hosted by one of Anne's close friends, Chef Madison Lane. Madison and Anne had cooked together for years. They were besties on and off screen. Midway through her segment, Madison stopped, she looked into the camera, and said, "I can't pretend everything's okay." Anne was hurting. And none of us saw it. If you're out there, smiling for the world, but crying at night, please talk to someone. Then she started crying. On camera. And she didn't even try to hide it. It was raw. It was real, and for a moment, viewers got what the Food Network hadn't delivered: honesty. Humanity. A real goodbye, sadly, and story isn't unique. The entertainment and culinary industries are full of bright personalities who burn out silently. Remember Anthony Bourdain? Same charm. Same success. Same sudden loss, and yet, it keeps happening. Why? Because when the lights are on, you smile. You perform. You entertain. But when the lights go off, the silence is deafening. And wasn't just a victim of personal struggles, she was part of a system that rewards performance but forgets about people. Since Anne's passing, thousands of fans have posted stories of how her laugh made them smile during dark times. How her recipes helped them feel confident in the kitchen. How they saw her not just as a TV personality, but as a friend. One message stood out in particular. It was from a woman named Clarissa. "I was going through postpartum depression. And show was the only thing that made me feel normal." She didn't judge. She didn't talk down to you. She made you feel like you could do something right. That's the kind of impact Anne Burrell had, and that's the kind of legacy that deserves more than silence. Now this will hit you hard inside. Her journal, yes, the same one found in the drawer, and had scribbled out a recipe idea. It wasn't typed. It wasn't polished. Just some quick notes jotted in pencil, the name of the dish, comfort chicken for one. Underneath, she wrote, "Something warm, filling, with garlic and thyme." For nights when you don't want to talk to anyone. Just eat. It's the kind of recipe you write when you're trying to comfort yourself. When you're lonely. When you just need something to hold on to, and that's the end we didn't see, the one behind the bold lipstick and big laugh. As the world continues to mourn, there are still major questions left hanging. Will the full autopsy report ever be released? Will anyone from the Food Network break their silence? Will Ben speak up and share what really happened that final night? And most importantly, how do we stop this from happening again? Because let's be honest, if someone like Burrell, who seemed so full of life, could suffer silently, then anyone could. Your friend, your sibling, even you. Before we end this, I want to say something directly to Anne's fans. You didn't imagine her magic. She was real. She was flawed. She was full of light. And she gave us everything she had until she couldn't anymore. We owe her more than just a headline. We owe her a legacy of kindness, of checking in on strong people, of saying, "Are you okay?" and really meaning it. So tonight, maybe cook one of her recipes. Play that old episode where she dances in the kitchen. And remember that behind every big personality is a heart that just wants to be seen. If this story moved you even a little, please take a second to share it. Someone out there might need to hear it, and if you or someone you know is struggling, don't wait. Reach out. Ask for help. You are never alone. This has been Gossip Bucket, and we tell the stories others won't. Until next time, take care of each other.